I'm here with Adam. Okay, forgive me if I mispronounce your name. Adam Ihle, is it?
That is it.
He's the designer of the Enterprise F and subsequent winner of the Design the Next Enterprise contest. Thanks for being here with us.
Hey, no problem.
Most people have been asking, what's with the split neck?
It was an aesthetic choice on my end that has been very, very passionately argued about. And what the guys over at STO did to actually make it a reason for it. I did it aesthetically because it was different. Everybody says it was a throwback to the Oberth, which I didn't even have in mind when I did my initial sketches. I was going more for, originally when I was looking for different ship ideas and things that I found cool on certain ships, I looked at a picture of the I think it's USAE or whatever protector from Galaxy Quest, and I held it backwards. And I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. So the two pylons that hold the engines on that ship come off the side, and I was trying to figure out how can I incorporate that into a starship. And I like the way the negative space worked with the saucer section because it gave, I've always been a big fan of the Romulan Warbird, and that was more the direction I was going in, to give the Federation a ship that had a negative space like that. Adam Williams, Captain Logan, took that and squeezed it a little tighter and streamlined it and pulled it in the final actual look of the Odyssey class. But that was where I was going from. That's where my initial concept was coming from, was to pull off something that was different. And I know everybody's like, oh, well, next sort of thing of the past. And I, as a designer and as a Star Trek fan, I've always thought that the squashed spoon look that happened with the Voyager and the Enterprise E and a few of the others where they got away from the neck saying that it was a structural problem and all that kind of stuff. I never saw that in any of the films or the television shows. I saw the necks on all the other ships get hit. They took phaser fire and torpedoes to the neck all the time, and nothing ever happened to the ships. So the argument that people were having with that one was like, I never saw it. We've never seen it on camera where, well, no, that's not true. We did see it on Deep Space Nine where a ship was torn apart with a kamikaze ship thrown into the neck of a Galaxy class. But it was more a retro feel I was going for. It's kind of like if you look at a PT Cruiser or a Dodge Challenger. They are retro throwbacks with a modern twist to them. So that's where I was going for. That's where the two necks came from.
Then again, most people won't be happy with your design. From the reactions I saw on the forums, they were all like, what is this stupid lumbering design doing here? Personally, I thought it was beautiful.
Oh, well, thank you.
Were you involved with the design after you submitted and won?
No, legalities kept me from being part of the design process because as it was a contest where my design was handed over to Cryptic and to CBS and all those guys, by just entering the contest, I signed all rights and everything of the design to them. If they were going to have me involved in the actual design process all the way through, they would have had to either pay me or contracts would have to be written up that would allow them and myself to work together. And to be honest, when I read the rules for the contest, I kind of figured I wouldn't have a hand in it at all. And I was okay with that. I'm a designer and I'm a sculptor and an artist. I've been doing it now professionally for over 15 years. And it's not the first time I've had that happen, where I will come up with an idea and someone takes it and runs with the idea and finalizes it. So, no. But my only contacts were informal contacts between the team at Cryptic as they gave me updates on what was going on. I wasn't allowed to say anything at the time because no one else was supposed to have seen it, but I saw a lot more than most.
And did you like the final design?
Yeah, as a designer, there's always, I would always look at someone else's work and say I would do something slightly different and something here and there differently. But on the whole, when I first saw it fleshed out, when Captain Logan sent me he gave me a prelim shot of it, and he said, just keep this between you and me. And at that time, I was like, wow, I did not expect it to come off that quickly, because they actually did it in pretty quick time. But yeah, I liked it. I mean, like I said, I mean, there are things I would probably do slightly different on the Enterprise E or any of the designs I saw. I mean, especially the new one from the J.J. Abrams company. I mean, there's definitely things I would do different.
There's definitely some controversy over it. Personally, what I see the most is that the saucer section is back more on the neck.
Yes.
And it throws the entire design off for me.
Yes. That's the J.J. fries?
Yes.
Yes. It's either the saucer's too far back on the neck, or the engineering hull is pushed too far forward. There's something aesthetically wrong there where it looks top or front heavy. Or bottom heavy. I don't know. I can't explain it. I mean, as I've watched the movie over and over, and I kind of, the design has grown on me, because it still is the Enterprise. No matter how you look at it, really,
True.
I mean, it has. I mean, there are beauty shots. I mean, my favorite shot in that entire film is the rising out of the clouds of Titan.
And that's where I noticed that it didn't look exactly like the Enterprise that most people have grown up with.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And it was yeah. I mean, but again, just like when as a designer, handing over a concept to another designer or a team of designers. But I'm pretty sure that Adam Williams handled that from the get-go. I know Thomas Marone, I think that's how you say his last name. I hope that's how you say his last name. Had his hands in there as well. But yeah, I was more than happy with what I saw.
Back to STO, since I think we're wandering a bit off topic. What is it like to be a part of all these designers that designed the Enterprise, like Matt Jeffries or Andrew Probert?
Yeah.
What's it like?
What's it like? To have my name uttered with those guys is, let's see, a childhood dream. But I mean, I will never, ever. I mean, I mean, everybody's like, oh, you're being too modest. No, when it comes down to it, I would never put myself in the same class as those men. I can only hope to emulate them. At that point, John Eves and Andrew Probert and Herman Zimmerman and all those guys who designed the ships for Star Trek and the look of Star Trek and how it feels, to have my name uttered with them it's an honor to no end. To know that, I mean, it's just like, I found out the other day I have a Wikipedia page, and I am listed as a designer of the Enterprise alongside everybody else in there, and I was like, okay, that is just too awesome.
Then again, there's some people who would argue that STO isn't canon, and thus you shouldn't have your name up there.
True, and it's hard to say, because right now, from what I've gathered on both ends, that it is being considered canon. Because
I personally think so.
Technically, it is on screen.
Well, people think that if it's not on a TV screen, it's not. But for all us Trek enthusiasts out there, we have to presume that STO is canon, considering J.J. Abrams, he took the timeline and split it off on another direction, and we all want the prime timeline. So it's only natural that STO would be the prime timeline.
Yes. And STO would be the prime time, unless they come up with another TV show set in the timeline established after Voyager. And I don't know. I mean, I've had many people ask me, well, how cool would it be to see your ship done on a TV show? I'm like, okay, I don't ever see that happening, because I'm pretty sure if CBS were to run off with another TV show with an Enterprise, they would want to design their own. So, I don't know. It would be interesting to see where it goes, but I mean, I'm not considering it canon. I consider it soft canon. Other people consider it hard canon. But no matter how I look at it, it's my ship.
Kind of like how Scotty thinks of his engines.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't have that same attachment to it. I mean, there's more than one person involved. I mean, I would love to be considered a co-designer on it, or the concept designer, and then the final designer would be Adam Williams. And that's how I've always, I was the concept designer for the Enterprise F, is how I would see it.
So, when you won this contest, out of hundreds of submissions, how did you react?
My initial reaction was, I thought it was a complete joke. I thought someone was pulling my leg, and I got the email after work. Actually, I was checking my email late at night one night, and there was an email from Daniel Stahl, and it was like, hey, you won the contest. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. There were so many other ships out there that I would have voted for, that I saw on there, that I was like, there's no way that mine won. Because I really, really didn't think, because of all the fan votes and all the other stuff that was out there, that mine had actually been chosen. And then the subsequent emails came in, and I went online, and I saw the backlash that came from it all. And I took a pretty big personal beating from a whole lot of people, including some emails that were very unkind and, extremely passionate about certain things. It just blew my mind that it really was taken that seriously.
That's Trekkies for you.
Yes.
That's definitely Trekkies for you.
I would say, I've always considered myself a Trekkie. And I think it's because on my side of the Trek world, I've always been, as an artist, it was, how did they make it look the way it does? Because, yes, I love the stories, and I love watching the movies and stuff, but when I go into these films, it's more of the whole aesthetic of Star Trek and not just the characters. It's like, okay, I'm dying to see The Next Generation on HD just so I can see how bad it really looked.
That's kind of what we were all like with TOS Remastered.
Oh yeah, when I saw that for the first time in full HD, it blew my mind how cardboard everything really looked. And the fact that they pulled off what they did with what they had, it's still amazing to this day.
And no doubt you were looking at the CG model of the Enterprise thinking, how close is this to the original model, which now they have at National Air and Space Museum in DC.
Yeah. One of these days I'll get down to actually see that model. But yeah, when they first did this remastered, because I have grown up with Star Trek, I've got, I don't know how many models of the Enterprise sitting on my shelf. I know that ship. And when CBS first released the first episodes, I instantly knew something's wrong. And they had to go back and fix it, and they didn't get it exactly right, but they made it much closer to the original model.
Kind of like during Balance of Terror, it was more of a reddish, swirly design for the... Okay, I'm gonna geek people out here. The Bazaar collectors, and then later on they changed it to like an orangey rainbow color.
Yes. And there's a few hull things on the hull that were different. They added a little bit of coloring and some decaling that wasn't on the original model. But all in all, I think it actually works if you're going to because I've never seen the original film footage they used for the blue screening and stuff they did back then. So, we really don't know exactly what that model looked like back then, because the model that's sitting in the, I think it's the Smithsonian, right?
Smithsonian. It's been refurbished.
Yeah, it's been refurbished multiple times, and the paint schemes have probably changed here and there. You might be interested to know that Terry Lynn from Subspace Radio has actually asked me to design the Enterprise G for her fan fiction, which would be the predecessor or the successor to the Enterprise F.
Or the successor to the Enterprise J.
Yes. And they'd still, what was there? H-I-J. So there'd be two more Enterprises in between.
I never really liked the design of the Enterprise J. It seemed too much like NX-01 to me.
The Enterprise J? Yeah, I can't be. That was Doug Drexler's design, right? I think so. I think Doug Drexler designed and I know where he was going with it after hearing interviews with him, and after hearing the interviews of where he was trying to take the design and what he was given as a directive. to make it so futuristic it almost seemed impossible. And once that came across, I was like, okay, I can see that now. Because, I mean, the nacelle pylons and stuff are so paper thin on that ship. I mean, the ship that's supposed to be like a mile long, if not longer, or something like that. Everything seems so dainty and petite. And the full look of it, 'cause even though we've never really gotten a good look at it.
No, we haven't. They've only embellished that screen from Azadi Prime.
Yes.
They embellished that and put it in the ship's line calendar for which year I have forgotten.
I mean, I was never a giant fan of it, but I think it's because we never saw the whole thing and we never got to see it in action. And that was the same. I think that was the same thing with the Enterprise F that a lot of people were having issues with, because in still images, depending on the camera that was used and all that kind of stuff, it either did look a little bloated at times, or it didn't look streamlined, or it looked too much like the Enterprise E. And now I'm hoping as people see it fly around, because I got to see turnarounds and full shots of this thing beforehand. And I was like, you know what? I even myself personally did a comparison that I posted on the forums of the E and the F right next to each other. And
I've seen that.
They really don't look anything alike. I mean, there's a lineage there, but they really have their own flair. The Enterprise E has a more utilitarian feel, and it's, I mean, I love the design of the E. I really do. I thought that when I first saw it on screen in First Contact, that it really, I was like, wow, okay, that's the Enterprise. I always thought that was more the Enterprise than the Galaxy class, because while the Galaxy class is a great ship and it has some really beautiful shots that you can do with it, I always felt it was a little too perfect to be the Enterprise. It was a little too. It didn't look like it could handle itself in a fight. That's how I thought about it. And the Enterprise E looked like it could handle itself. It could move fast. I mean, it just had a look to it that was like, yeah, okay. So the Enterprise F, when you look at that, I mean, it has the same aesthetics to it, and it's got the same shape to it, contours and stuff. But they're a little smoother and they're more streamlined. And I'm hoping now that she's out there and it's going to be moving around and you'll get to see it, it'll be a little bit better. Most people will sit there, and I hope they change their mind about it as they sit there and look.
It's kind of like your Enterprise F and the Enterprise E. It's kind of like between the Enterprise B and the Enterprise D, they were looking for the Enterprise C. They were trying to incorporate both designs from it, make it seem similar, like it had the same shape of the Enterprise D, but it had nacelles and details that the Enterprise B had.
Yes.
And what I've noticed with your design, at least the finalized design, is that not only is it similar to the Sovereign class, but it's also similar to the Intrepid class.
Yes, it's very similar to, actually, the Intrepid class similarities were not my original intentions. I was actually trying to bring it more back to the Constitution and the Excelsior classes, because when I originally, in my head, even though I didn't do full orthographics of the ship, because they didn't ask for them. That was my biggest thing. It was never a mandate that the designs that were submitted had to have orthographics, and where you saw the top, the front, the side. And so, I mean, my original idea, even though you really can't tell from my original concept sketch, was the saucer that I would have had envisioned was much more round and more gearing towards the J than what we see now. And I'm not complaining that they did what they did with it, but I think it's a beautiful ship, and it streamlines the ship more than I think a round saucer would have done.
What was the image you wanted the Enterprise F to capture when you designed it?
Big. I wanted it to be, when I mean, my scales that I put on there, I wanted it to be like, oh my god, look at the size of this thing. It was what am I looking for? not monstrous, not like the big bulky shoulders, kind of guy like the Klingon Bird of Prey design was originally, but more of an not an intimidation, but just like if someone would have second thoughts about taking this thing off.
Which is why the designers decided to add in the bulk at the expense of the speed.
Yes, and I mean, everybody kept saying, well, it could be a carrier. No, it's not a carrier. This was supposed to be both a warship and an exploration ship, and that's where they're gearing it towards right now, is the exploration side of it. And in the commissions that were done this morning that I was part of, it really is. It is a bringing Starfleet back to exploration, and it is, and that flagship, the Enterprise, will lead that new geared back towards what Starfleet was originally intended to do.
You think that this Klingon War storyline has gotten Starfleet away from exploration too much?
Yes, I think the Klingon War storyline has walked away from the exploration side of things, and I realize, in-game, people don't want to play a game where you do absolutely nothing but just travel around the planet and stand there and take pictures of rocks, but, from what I'm gathering, because they just released the trailer online. It's on YouTube that I just saw for the next featured episode, where the Dominion seems to be coming back, and the Enterprise is supposed to, as far as I know, feature in that episode. So I'm hoping that when we get to see it, we get to see both sides of the Enterprise, that she does go out and explore, and that the Odyssey classes are allowed to go out, and new missions are created for people to go out and just like, okay, so find something uncharted and play with it. And maybe get yourself in trouble, maybe not,
So it seems as though we are running out of time and that you need to get ready for a reception not too long from now.
Yes, I do, actually. The reception on Space Dock is going to be in about 20 minutes.
So do you have anything else to say to our viewers before we log out?
The only thing I would say is keep an eyeball out for me every once in a while. I will be on in game here and there. My handle will be @IsleCreations, which is the same as my website. And if you want to follow me on Twitter at Adam Ihle. And I really hope everybody really enjoys the Enterprise F and the Odyssey class, and that the Odyssey class makes its name for itself in the lores of Star Trek.
That's a hope we both share. Thanks for talking with me, Adam.
Oh, no problem.